Hey gang, Downrange 45 here. Want to talk to you a little bit about the Sig 1911-22. I picked this up recently. I've been spending some time with it. Had it out to the range yesterday and gave it a pretty thorough workover, and I just wanted to report back to you and let you know what I thought of it. A nice little gun. I like it. I'm gonna be hanging on to it. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what I liked about it and a few things I don't like. I could make some adjustments on it here, but one of the first things that struck me about this is that it really has the feel of a full-size 911. The report that I get on this is that 80% of the parts on this weapon are compatible with a standard 45 ACP 1911, which is intriguing because you get that feel as if when you're shooting this gun, until you pull the trigger anyway, that you're working with a full-sized regular 1911. So from that standpoint, it's great as a trainer. And of course, if you can find 22 ammo, it's still cheaper than centerfire. So that's a benefit, and this gun shoots very nicely. Handles good. You can see that it's got all the little bells and whistles. It's got the ambidextrous safety on it. The controls on it just look like you're holding any other 1911. And I thought about, with that in mind, I considered having some trigger work done to this as soon as I got my hands on it. But after I've spent some time with it, I think I'm going to leave the trigger just as it is, because the trigger's really not bad at all. It's actually got a pretty nice trigger pull on it. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. There's a couple things I am going to do differently. Talk about that in a minute. But, first of all, range results. Now, this is 15 yards out. But it's really seemed to like the Remington target loads I had. Made a nice group there. I was pleased with that group. And the last strings I shot were some CCI standard velocity, and as far as the grouping goes, it seemed to like those very well too. I'm happy with that. Can't really complain about the groupings on either round of ammo. I took some high velocity out there with me, but 22 ammo is really tough to get right now. So I dug some older stuff out. It must have been real old, because that stuff really wasn't, turned out not to be any good. It didn't function properly, didn't go off. So I had to toss all of that. But I'm going to strongly recommend you go with high velocity ammo in this gun. And, that's something I ran into. It printed nice, made a nice group. But when I got into, had no problem with the Remington target, everything functioned perfectly. When I got into this CCI standard velocity, and this is brand new, I just picked this stuff up, so it's not bad ammo, I'm sure. But the pistol just did not completely go back into battery on several of the rounds. It was like an eighth of an inch off, and I had to take my thumb and push the slide forward about an eighth of an inch on several of those rounds with standard velocity. Now, there's several things that could cause that, and one of the things could be it just needs a good cleaning. I always recommend that you clean a firearm thoroughly before you take it out and shoot it the first time, and that can help the functioning of it. I didn't do it with this one, and I'm going to explain that again in a couple minutes, because there's something about a change I want to make that affects my cleaning process on this gun. And it could be just the way the gun's set up. Some guns are not set up to use certain types of ammo, and I think that's unfortunate, but it happens. Maybe the spring is set up for high velocity ammo, and it's just not set up to be reliable with the standard. It's you need something a little more punch. But the cleaning may have something to do with it. Maybe it just needs the chamber polished a little bit, and that could straighten out that problem, because it was close. It wasn't, it was very subtle. Just a little tap is all I needed. So, it's not too far off. I think I can get that worked out. As for the cleaning, I'm a strong believer in Froglube. And so I'm going to give this a good Froglube application, but that brings me to one of the things that I'm not real happy about. The sights on this gun are plastic. They worked, obviously, but this is just not up to my standards. And so I'm going to have these changed out. There's a company that makes sights specifically for this gun that are metal, that are interchangeable with these sights. A Novak style rear sight, and then the gun comes with 3 different heights of factory sights. This is the tallest one. It seemed like it worked out fine. I'm not going to change that. I'm happy with the height of the sight, so I'll get the same height of sight. But when I do the Froglube, part of that process, and of course that's another video altogether, but you've probably all seen that, you got to heat the metal up to get that Froglube into the pores of the metal. Then of course when you use the gun again, it heats up, the lube comes back out, keeps the gun lubricated. I'm concerned that if I heat this thing up at the temperature I normally do, it's going to melt these plastic sights. So I'm going to get the new metal sights, get those installed, then go through this thing thoroughly, Froglube it, clean it up, and then get it back out there. And I'll report back on how that, what the results of that are later. One of the things you may or may not know about this 1911-22 is that it does have a threaded barrel, which is kind of a nice little bonus. This end screws off and you can thread whatever you want to on it. I'm not a big advocate of that. I'm certainly not going to go out and get a Class 3 license just so I can buy a suppressor. But I do have one question though about just basic quality control from Sig as it relates to this particular piece. Now this is not made by Sig, it's got the Sig name, but still if you see that Sig name you're expecting some degree of quality. I like the looks of it. I went with the flat dark earth. It comes in an OD green and of course in a black, but I like the flat dark earth stuff. I've got, even though it's not the same shade of flat dark earth, but that's what my Nano is. I just, you know, I like this. But when this thing came out of the box, the front and rear sights were aligned, but the rear sight was so far to the left that part of the rear sight was actually hanging over the edge of the slide. So I got the bore sighter out and pushed those back over so that they're, in essence, centered along the slide. And of course, you know, based on the results, you know, it's shooting point of aim now. But I couldn't believe that got out of the factory with those sights slid so far to the left. It just was weird. And here's the other really weird thing. Now, check this out. This is what the cleaning rod that came with it looked like right out of the box. This thing is like a dog's hind leg. What the hell am I supposed to do with that? Unless this is some kind of one of those secret guns that shoots around corners, then, you know, I don't know what that's for. But that was in the box, sealed up in a plastic bag with the tools that come with it and the 2 replacement front sights. You know, it looked like nothing had been opened since it left the factory. It was, everything was pristine, but here's my 90-degree angle cleaning rod. Figure that one out. Okay, really like it. We'll be back with more on this later, but I just wanted to show it to you. Shoots good, got a few improvements coming, and I'll be back with those later. Downrange 45 signing off. Like it if you like it. Please subscribe.